Everyone, Chef Sarah here with the Sylvia Center. Today I am making a really yummy fall Brussels sprout butternut squash salad that I am so excited about. Whenever you can eat seasonal ingredients, we definitely recommend that. That way you're getting them really fresh. Where sometimes if you're eating things that aren't currently in season, you might be getting them from really far away, which makes them more expensive and not as fresh and flavorful. So I'm really excited today to be using so many yummy fall ingredients to make this beautiful salad. So my two main ingredients, butternut squash. You could use different types of squash. I love butternut squash. You could also use delicata squash, acorn squash, honey nut squash. Right now is the time to eat all the different types of squash. I also have Brussels sprouts here. We're going to get these Brussels sprouts really caramelized and yummy. I feel like once Brussels sprouts get nice and crispy, they get so much flavor. So I'm really excited about these. I also have herbs. I have rosemary and thyme, which both go really great with Brussels sprouts and squash. I also have red onion, orange that I'm going to juice. I have some dried cranberries. Then I have a little olive oil, Dijon mustard. You could also use whole grain. Either one would work great. I have maple syrup, and as always, salt and pepper. I'm also going to use some seeds. I'm actually going to toast the seeds that are inside of this squash, but you could also use pumpkin seeds that are already toasted and ready to go. So, okay, well, I'm going to wash my hands and let's get started. Okay, so our first fall veggie to cut is butternut squash. So I cut the tops and bottoms, and then I'm just peeling that completely. With some different types of squash, you don't need to peel, but with the butternut squash, you definitely want to peel it because it is pretty tough. Once I have all of the peel removed and cleaned off my cutting board, then I'm just going to cut it in half and half again. You'll see the top is solid where the bottom is kind of hollow with this pocket of seeds. You can just toss those if you want, or if you want, you can roast them with a little oil, salt, and pepper, and they get really nice and crunchy in the oven, and they're super tasty. Okay, so you can see the bottom is really easy to cut into perfect squares since it is solid, where the top's a little bit more difficult to get perfect, but it's okay if not every piece is exactly the same. Okay, so once this butternut squash is cut, we're going to move on to our beautiful fall Brussels sprouts. So I'm just cutting the bottom and then cutting those in half. You could also quarter them if you prefer, but I do like to cut them in half. I'm also adding some of those leaves that fall off in there as well. They get really crispy in the oven, and I think they are super tasty. I usually snack on those first. Okay, so we want to add herbs. Herbs are going to add so much flavor to this dish. Today we're using rosemary and thyme. You could also use sage if you want. Sage is really nice in the fall. So you can see I'm just peeling off all those little rosemary pieces off of that woody stem. You don't really want to eat the woody stem. It's kind of tough, doesn't taste very good. So you can just peel those right off of there. And you can see I'm doing the exact same with the thyme. I'm just peeling all those little leaves. If there's little pieces of stem that are small, that's fine, but you just don't want that big main one in there because like I said, it is pretty tough. So once I get all the herbs that I want in there, I'm just going to get a really nice grip on my knife and I'm going to chop them. You can leave them a little bit bigger if you want, but I am going to chop them pretty fine because I really do want them to go all the way through the dish. If you're feeling really rustic, you could really even just throw the whole sprigs of rosemary and thyme in there, and some of those pieces will just fall off as you cook. Okay, so once we have all these herbs chopped, those are going to go right in the bowl with the butternut squash and the Brussels sprouts. The next thing to go in the same bowl, it's nice and easy when we're using one bowl. It helps not to have too many dishes. We're going to add this red onion to the bowl as well. You could use the whole onion. This onion is pretty big, so I'm only using half, but feel free to use that whole onion if you'd like. And I'm just cutting this into nice thin strips. You could dice it if you want. It's really up to you, but I like just doing really thin strips, and when these roast in that pan, they're just going to add so much flavor to this whole dish. So you can see I'm just going through, I'm taking my time and going slow. And then when it gets too tough, I just kind of fold that onion over and then I'm just breaking those pieces up just a little bit.
and then adding that to the bowl as well. So now that all the veggies are in there, I want to add a little bit of salt and pepper. It's important to season these because they're going to go in the oven and they're going to get nice and roasty, and it's important to have salt and pepper on them at that time. It's just going to soak in all those flavors. And also I'm going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil. This olive oil is going to help to just get everything really coated. And we're really looking to get caramelization in the oven, so to get some nice little brown bits. And adding this olive oil is going to help us to do that. And then at this point, I'm just going to mix. You can toss it in the bowl. You can use your spatula. You can use your hands. I don't mind getting dirty, so you can get your hands in there as well, whatever method you prefer. But you definitely want to make sure every bit of that is coated, because you want all the flavors to, really mix, and you want the salt and pepper and the herbs to really coat everything. And it is so beautiful between the green and the yellow and the purple. It is such a beautiful dish at this point. And once everything is nice and coated, this is when you're going to put it on a sheet pan or roasting pan, whatever you might have. My pan's a little small, so I'm going to do this in 2 separate pans. One of the secrets for getting nice crispy bits is to not overcrowd. If we had where this was like 2 layers or really stacked on top of each other, it would not roast at all. They would just kind of steam in there. So you really want to have one thin layer. So if you have to do 2 batches or in 2 separate pans, that's the way to go. Also, you can see that I'm flipping my Brussels sprouts so they're nice and flat. I do this because it really adds a lot of color and caramelizes them. You don't have to do it, but it's a nice little extra step. Okay, so now I'm going to make that sauce that we're going to add to it. I have all those vegetables roasting as I'm making this. So I'm just squeezing a little bit of orange juice, and I'm going to add maple syrup and Dijon. This is going to make a really, really nice glaze. It's going to add tons of flavor. I mean, I know everything already has so much flavor, but it's just going to coat all those veggies with even more flavor. So you're going to whisk this together, just these 3 ingredients. You could add more ingredients to this if you'd like. You could add spices if you wanted, to add some curry powder and add a little, change the flavor up. Or if there was if you wanted a little cumin, or you could add chili powder. You really can alter this, but I think these 3 ingredients make it just so nice and flavorful. Okay, so these have been roasting for about 20 minutes. You can see they have some color on them, and I just drizzled a little bit of that dressing on there, and I am just tossing them to make sure they are completely coated. You can see those Brussels sprouts are getting nice and brown, and now I'm going to get this back in the oven for another about 15 minutes. Okay, and look at that beautiful final product. I'm just adding some of those dried cranberries and some of my roasted squash seeds, or if you're using pumpkin seeds, either one will work great. And these are just going to help balance the flavor. It's going to add a little sweetness, a little crunch, and it is so tasty. So I'm just mixing that together, and look how beautiful this is.
Okay, so thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoy your roasted fall veggie salad with these beautiful caramelized Brussels sprouts, the butternut squash, a nice crunch in there, and then some sweetness from the cranberries. So thanks again for joining me, and have a wonderful day.